Are employment contracts necessary? A new employee should get a contract. It gives both parties peace of mind with regard to expectations. The document explains the employment terms for the new hire, and the employer becomes compliant. With a clear mindset, the employee starts out on a good footing. It gives the employee confidence and a level of trust and security in the company. Not having one raises questions in an employee's mind, and the employer misses out on giving important information regarding her rules and regulations. Today, we shall discuss why employers should issue new employees with a contract. Please comment below if you think employment contracts are necessary. Welcome to 5 Talents Africa, and thank you for joining us. An employment contract is the relationship between an employer and the employee, and employers are expected to comply by the government authorities. There are 2 kinds of contracts, verbal and written. An employer may engage a plumber to fix a water tap verbally, and they agree on the fees to be paid at the end of day once it is done. No written contract exchange hands. That is a verbal contract. If the employer has several taps to be repaired, the plumber may require more time to do that, and a written contract should be drawn stating the terms of engagement. The formal contract confirms the following: commitment by the plumber to report to work for an agreed period, and the employer to pay the plumber the agreed fees after successful completion of the work. Both verbal and written contracts are commitments, but written contracts are for long-term periods. What happens when an employer issues a contract to an employee? It is a marketing tool because it's written on a letterhead, which confirms the credibility of the organization, as well as its commitment to formalize the relationship. It enhances the firm's image and reputation to employees, who are the best sales and marketing representatives for any organization. Trust is enhanced because it shows that both parties are committed to each other in the form of service and reward. It protects you as the employer because you become compliant as required by the labor authorities. Having a contract gives both parties concerned peace of mind, and engagement terms are clearer. Please share in the comments below how else employers can show commitment to an employee apart from issuing an employment contract. We have different types of contracts based on the task at hand. Some organizations are project-based and mostly hire short-term staff. For example, construction companies. If such a company has a contract to fix a client's kitchen within 6 months, they cannot hire staff beyond that time. Those hired to work in the project get contracts of between 1 day to 6 months when the project is expected to end. Other types of contracts include fixed-term contracts, which run for a specific period, for example 1 year, and both parties understand from onset that there is no continuation after it ends. We also have open-ended contracts, which some people call permanent and pensionable. Here you work until you resign or retire. And before we move to the details of a contract, please share a comment below if you like the content of this video. The contract is usually detailed and has information such as names and address of the employee. These are clearly written and should be the same as those on the official documents, for example, certificates, passports, or National Social Security Fund cards. The period during which the job will be done is also clearly stated, depending on the type of contract being issued, as well as a summary of the duties to be undertaken. The name of the employee supervisor is also clearly written. Working hours, including any breaks during the day, are included, and the salary offered plus any statutory deductions to be made. If there is a collective agreement that affects the employee, details of where the document can be accessed is also indicated. Capturing all this information is very important because it gives clarity on the engagement terms. The benefits offered by companies to staff is also outlined in the contracts for information. However, details of the same are captured in a separate employee handbook, which the employee reads during probation. Benefits include rest days such as annual leave, gazetted public holidays, maternity and paternity leave, as well as compassionate leave. We also have other leave days such as sick leave for when the employee is unable to work. Details on eligibility and how these are taken are included in the employee handbook and staff manuals, which are shared separately. Different companies offer different benefits to their staff depending on their capacity. Having this in the contract gives the employee a glimpse of what they are entitled to as they join the company. Please share with us what are the benefits employers should offer their employees. The employment contract shows commitment towards the engagement of employees by their employers, but it also indicates how the two can separate. Should this be the case, there must be ample notice given by both parties. It clearly outlines the procedure for separating should an employee decide to leave the company or if the company decides to terminate the services of the employee. This should be well outlined so that there is no misunderstanding or disrespect should this occur. Also, the employer should indicate situations where an employee's termination can be done without notice for clarity. It ensures that everyone knows the borderline on the action to be taken if they have to go separate ways, and it's captured in detail in the staff manual. Where both parties respect this policy, then they work together harmoniously, and vice versa if there is a violation. The employer should state the location from where work will be done in the contract. Details of both flexible and in-person situations should be indicated. If the job requires an employee to work from a client's site on some days away from home, it should be clearly stated for them to prepare mentally and make appropriate arrangements. If the position is for an expatriate, then all relocation details should also be included to guide the new hire. Having this knowledge enables an employee plan their commute to and from work, as well as when they have to stay behind for longer hours should there be a need. It also helps them plan their family time, for example, those who have to drop and pick children from school. Please share below how commute to workplaces affect employees. A brief highlight of how grievance and disciplinary matters are handled can also be captured in contracts. This helps employees to know their boundaries and consequences for violating policies. The procedure regarding disciplinary and grievance issues is listed for the employee to understand that there is a process to follow in both situations. This prevents repetition and gives insight on what is acceptable and what is not, and the employee gets important information early before they read the detailed staff manuals and employee handbook. Including this in contracts firms up the company values, and the employee slowly starts to adapt to these rules and regulations. It also gives new hires a glimpse of how disciplinary and grievance issues are handled in the new company, and one can easily note whether a case has been handled fairly or not. Any changes to the contract should be clear to both the employer and the employee, and this should be in writing. Having this on paper confirms the agreement and can be used even in the future in case of any dispute. Changes do occur in companies through mergers and acquisition, and new management come in with new plans, and employees' terms of employment may be affected. In such situations, new contracts are issued with changes when both parties are in agreement. We have not exhausted all the details of a contract, and to engage us further, please subscribe below if you have not, and share your comments. and we shall reply to you. Thank you for watching this video and give it a thumbs up if you have learned something today. Goodbye. If you have learned something today, please like and share to benefit others. You can also subscribe to get our next tutorial.